Alrighty, guys. We are now live. How's it going, guys? Welcome in on YouTube, and here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Okay. Welcome in, guys. Rover Sports here on a Tuesday. Getting the day started, getting the day rocking and rolling, and we have a couple of important topics to get to. I have a big Creighton Marquette game tonight that we'll break down. NBA gets back later in the week. But our first big news of the day is Drew Brees. Drew Brees now back going on another season with the New Orleans Saints. Believe this might be Drew Brees was drafted in 2001, played in the Jerry Tiller Purdue offense. And now Drew Brees is now back with the New Orleans Saints chasing another championship. Drew Brees lost to the Vikings in consecutive seasons. No, actually lost to the Rams, and then he's lost to the Vikings in 2 of the 3 seasons. I think that this is a great move for the New Orleans Saints, getting Drew back. Obviously, I think Drew still plays at a high level, even though his arm strength is not where it once used to be. But guess what? He never was a guy who had such a powerful arm. He was unlocked in the Sean Payton offense in L.A. when he played for, I believe, Marty Schottenheimer. I could be wrong, but he had LaDainian Tomlinson. He did have Antonio Gates. But he wasn't the same quality quarterback when he got to New Orleans in that dome. That is where everything was unleashed for Drew Brees. So Drew comes back. Now, I wanted to address this. Taysom Hill. Everybody is enamored with Taysom Hill. And they look at his arm, and they look at what he did in the playoff game against the Vikings, and they look at his versatility from a running standpoint. They also look at his unselfishness on special teams. And I am a Taysom Hill fan. I watched him at BYU, and at BYU, he couldn't even beat out Tanner Mangum at BYU. And I like Tanner Mangum as well from the Elite 11, but there was a reason, I believe, why Taysom wasn't even drafted, and it's because at BYU, he wasn't a very good quarterback. Now, you can maybe point to the coaching staff at the time at BYU, but he was a runner, he was a dual-threat guy, but he wasn't even a really good he wasn't even a top-notch quarterback in the Mountain West Conference. He wasn't even like anywhere near Josh Allen level. And Taysom Hill, when he comes into the game, he always has the threat of running or throwing the ball. And everybody is going to want to duplicate the Baltimore Ravens offense. But I think that's doing a disservice to the arm talent of Lamar Jackson, to the accuracy that Lamar Jackson possessed. Lamar Jackson at Louisville was a superstar quarterback. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. Put up huge stats with Bobby Petrino's offense. And even last year, prolific passer and incredible athlete, and he's been playing quarterback for a long time. I don't know why a team would go out there. Taysom Hill, I think he's only attempted maybe 16 passes in like 4 years of NFL duty. It's a completely different job when you're asked to be a quarterback. And if you're signing Taysom Hill for a 4 or 5 year deal, you pretty much have to completely tailor-make the offense around Taysom Hill and his running ability. And then he's going to have to be he pretty much does play like a running back playing quarterback. That's just Taysom Hill. Lamar Jackson is a thrower. Lamar Jackson has played quarterback. He is a quarterback. Taysom Hill, I mean, you then are asking a average Mountain West quarterback who has had success in the NFL. And guess what? I love Taysom Hill. The guy is a tremendous person, great Christian, great Mormon. He does whatever is needed for his team. He is one of the most unselfish players, not only in the NFL, but in all of sports. So this is me critiquing the idea of making him a franchise quarterback. It's not knocking on Taysom Hill, the person, the teammate, and the player. As a player, you are getting a Swiss Army knife. You're getting like a Brad Smith, right? And Brad Smith, if you were a Jets fan, is one of the most beloved Jets probably in the past 20 years because Brad Smith would be able to break a game open with an exceptional play. And that's what Taysom Hill is. He's a spark plug. He's a six-man off the bench. He's a Lou Williams type of guy. But you're asking a Lou Williams to then be a Steph Curry. You're then asking a Lou Williams to be a Steve Nash, to be a franchise starting quarterback, to be a locked-in starting quarterback. And Taysom Hill has arm strength, yes, but Taysom Hill is not a consistent drop-back passer. And if you make Taysom Hill a quarterback, you're going to have to enact the Tim Tebow rule. You're going to have to pay him really cheap. You're going to have to surround him with incredible running backs. And then you're going to have speedy wide receivers, unbelievable tight ends. And Lamar Jackson, even he is a tremendous college quarterback, and he's been a tremendous NFL quarterback. There is no debating Lamar Jackson and his success. You can point to 2 playoff games with Lamar Jackson, and you could say that he struggled against the Tennessee Titans, which had Derrick Henry that kept Lamar off the field. Or you could criticize him for his first playoff appearance. I mean, look at Eli Manning in his first playoff appearance. Look at Drew Brees in the playoffs. It's 8-8. We're talking about Drew Brees. Lamar Jackson has won an MVP. He's younger than Joe Burrow. It's foolish to say Lamar Jackson is... It's foolish to say Lamar Jackson is anything but a huge, huge success at the moment. Now, maybe Lamar Jackson going forward, maybe in a year, maybe next year he has a terrible year, and then maybe in 2 or 3 years he's not even starting anymore in the NFL. Maybe the NFL figures out the running aspect of Lamar Jackson, and then maybe he goes and then he would just have an all right career. Then he's worth getting drafted maybe at the end of the first round, maybe. But 14-2 is special. But about Taysom Hill, this is a guy that literally has thrown the ball like 16 times, and he hasn't asked to be a quarterback. He's never quarterbacked a whole game. And comparing his resume to Teddy Bridgewater, I'll say this about him. Teddy doesn't have a huge upside in terms of arm strength. But Teddy Bridgewater's accurate, knows how to win, has played the quarterback position before. I don't love the idea of Teddy Bridgewater being a quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. And Taysom Hill as a quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, that is even scarier than Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback, but he's not an elite quarterback. But if you pay Teddy about $20 million, you put him in Sean Payton's system with that defense, you could rock for a couple of years. I would then draft a quarterback with a higher upside. I would look at a Jacob Eason. I would look to groom a younger guy under Bridgewater because Bridgewater's older, has injuries, and Bridgewater, though, he's a decent quarterback in the NFL. Taysom Hill, you have no idea. But the odds are, I mean, if you look at Taysom's career, not that good of a starting quarterback at BYU. Is a Mormon, so is probably about 25 years old coming into the draft. And you're asking a huge leap of faith if you're going to put Taysom Hill. And then you have to revamp your offense because Taysom's not a drop-back passer. Teddy Bridgewater, better mechanics, has played the quarterback position longer. Teddy is going to be the guy that you should rock with as a quarterback. And with the defense that Dennis Allen, with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, you add a tight end maybe somewhere along the line. You drafted Eric McCoy. I mean, Mickey Loomis deserves more credit than he gets. It was actually, they wanted Reuben Foster. They ended up getting Ryan Ramczyk in the 2017 draft. That really helped out the New Orleans Saints. And then the Saints, Marshawn Lattimore, I mean, what a home run pick that guy's been. One of the best corners in the NFL, a Pro Bowl corner. Alvin Kamara in the 4th round. Michael Thomas, I believe, a 2nd rounder out of Ohio State. So this guy, Mickey Loomis, has absolutely been nails. He's been great. Now, Dennis Allen in the playoffs hasn't been as good. Cameron Jordan, too. Unbelievable acquisition there. Cameron Jordan, one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. Anzalone, the linebackers. You even acquired one from the Jets who was a solid player. You had Vilma, and then you have somebody else from the Jets that is a good linebacker, good player. So, but you look at Drew Brees, and Drew Brees, excellent quarterback. Better option than Taysom and Teddy Bridgewater. And again, Teddy and Taysom are both incredible people. I mean, everybody should go read Teddy Bridgewater's most recent tweet. He has an incredible story coming from hardship in Miami and dealing with the ACL injury. He's had a ton of adversity in his life, and he's persevered, and he's a success in the National Football League as a quarterback, a very good quarterback. And so now Teddy Bridgewater, though, I believe Teddy is a free agent. So Teddy, now with Drew coming back, Teddy's actually going to go elsewhere. So Teddy is going to probably, I think Teddy playing in the Chargers under Anthony Lynn with Tyrod there, I think that would be a good option. Say the Chargers don't get Herbert, Teddy Bridgewater. I could see Teddy Bridgewater if I were the Colts. Teddy Bridgewater is an option. I'm trying to think of a really good team. With Teddy, you should try to sign him for about $25 million a year, so you pay him on the cheap, and then you load up with defense. So you get him at a really good bargain price, because I think Teddy Bridgewater can be maybe a fringe top 14 level quarterback. I'm not going to say he's Jimmy G. I'm not even going to say he's Kirk Cousins. But Teddy Bridgewater, and when Teddy was with the Vikings, yes, he was leading Seattle, and Blair Walsh would have won him a playoff game. But that was mostly, I believe, in Adrian Peterson. That was mostly a running offense, and Teddy was just a play-action passer. With the Saints this year, he beat the Cowboys, but that was like a 16-9 game against Seattle. He did have some success in that game. He did fine. You know, he doesn't turn it over. He's smart. He's a manager. He manages the game. I don't want to call him a game manager. I just think he's a pretty damn good, solid, quarterback. But he's not going to wow you with traits. He's not going to wow you with arm strength, next level throws. He's not going to be a freaking ridiculous level quarterback. But you put him with a running back, you put him with an offensive line, you stack your defense, you could get Teddy Bridgewater on a pretty good price. If you're the Lions, you trade back, you get assets. I would rather rock with Teddy Bridgewater at a fraction of the price of Matt Stafford than rock with a Stafford. I think that Bridgewater is a competitor, and I've liked Teddy's game. I think he is a little bit underrated. So I think Teddy is going to land somewhere. He should get a starting quarterback opportunity. I wouldn't mark Teddy Bridgewater over Herbert, Tua, or Joe Burrow. I'm not ready to say that. I actually, you look at Burrow and Teddy's skill set, I would still probably lean Burrow over Teddy. But the other guys, Tua and Herbert, their physical traits are better than Teddy Bridgewater. Then you look at Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason has better physical traits than Bridgewater, but Bridgewater is smarter. He's going to protect the football. You look at Jake Fromm. Could Jake Fromm actually be a Teddy Bridgewater type? Could he start in the NFL? Could he be a New England Patriot? And then you can have, Fromm versus Bridgewater. You look at Jarrett Stidham. What is Jarrett Stidham's career going to look like? You look at the quarterback Jacoby Brissett has had a very successful NFL career, and Jimmy Garoppolo is an incredible success as an NFL career coming from the Patriots. So those are things to consider, because maybe Jarrett Stidham is going to be an awesome quarterback. And guess what? Jarrett Stidham, I watched him in Mobile. Arm strength pops off the page. Arm strength, quick release, smart, athletic enough to maneuver in the pocket, smooth. I think that Jarrett Stidham could be a massive success in the NFL. And there's a reason why the Patriots have been very quiet on the front. I don't know why Ryan Finley was selected over Jarrett Stidham. It goes into my theory that the Bengals just wanted to kind of draft a backup quarterback for the future. That they looked at Jarrett Stidham as being potentially too good as a starting quarterback, that they wanted a Ryan Finley, and this tanking has been put in place for a while. It's why they started Finley over. It's why they started Finley over Joe Burrow. Or not over Joe Burrow. It's why they started Finley over Andy Dalton. All of that took place last year. That then leads me to another topic here on Rover Sports, and I actually do not have this photograph right here to put on the YouTube feed again. You guys can follow me, Rover Sports on YouTube and Rover Sports here, the podcast. We try to do a podcast about every 2 days, whether that be about NBA basketball, NFL news, college basketball, this cheating scandal in Major League Baseball, all of that, unfiltered opinions, Rover Sports. Give a review and go on YouTube and listen. So what is with this Cincinnati Bengal narrative out there that the Bengals are this franchise that's going to sink Joe Burrow? I mean, first off, Andy Dalton has been a relatively good quarterback in Cincinnati. Marvin Lewis, even though he couldn't win a playoff game, you could do a lot worse than what Marvin Lewis did, okay? You could be Jim Tom Sula. You could be Chip Kelly in the NFL. You could be several other teams. Marvin Lewis would get you to 10-6, 9-7, respectable. It's not like you're the Detroit Lions with Jim Schwartz here, okay? It's not like it was a dumpster fire. Marvin Lewis respected, good defense, and that team competed. Now, the ownership might have been cheap, yes, and Carson Palmer, again, didn't receive the type of help that he needed in order to win a championship. Okay, that much is established. But this is pretty much a mainstream media hostile takeover of Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. That is what's going on with the Cincinnati Bengals, is that it's a hostile takeover. The mainstream media must hate Cincinnati. They might not want to travel to Cincinnati. I don't know what it is about Cincinnati, but there's a sentiment growing on social media, on Twitter. Maybe, there's a conspiracy going on with the NFL. Maybe the NFL is, not the NFL, but maybe the people who cover the NFL, they are just so anti-Paul Brown. They're anti-Cincy. And I get that the guy's cheap, but they've been trying to create this storyline of Joe Burrow not wanting to go to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow has never said that he doesn't want to go to Cincinnati. Okay, Joe Burrow's even been in Cincinnati eating a steak. Now, maybe Joe Burrow can say, that he wants to be the first pick, and he said he wants to actually be the first pick. But maybe Joe could say, hey, I want to be a Cincinnati Bengal. Maybe he can embrace it. I don't know. But at the same time, it's not professional for Joe Burrow to go out there and to basically put Bengal profile picture to engage with Bengal fans. Okay? At the same time, it's fun to do that, but I get why not, because the Bengals want to do their due diligence as well, and they might want to pick Herbert or Tua. And guess what? Joe Burrow as a number one pick is not a slam dunk, in my opinion. I would actually go Tua Tagovailoa. I've said that. Tua is the chosen one. Tua won the national championship. Tua is the clutchest quarterback prospect ever to come out in the past 20 years. Tua Tagovailoa is lights out. He has the quick release of Drew Brees. He has unbelievable improvisation skills. He's accurate. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly. He doesn't take sacks, okay? Tua is a big-time player at 6'1", 10-inch hands. Tua Tagovailoa has it all. Quick release, accurate, short release, so the ball gets out of his hands quickly. And he's a more talented player than Joe Burrow. Now, is Tua going to get hurt? That is a question. Joe Burrow, from a competitive standpoint, is absolutely tremendous. But Joe Burrow has only been really a lights-out college player for 1 year, and he also had Joe Brady, and Joe Brady might end up being, the next Bill Walsh of the NFL. Joe Brady might just be a freaking genius. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Thaddeus Moss. I mean, that is one of the great wide receiver corps in the history of college football. That offensive line won the offensive line award. But so that's not taking away. Joe Burrow still needs to operate that offense and run that offense. But maybe Joe Burrow, if he was drafted 365 days ago, Joe Burrow wasn't even going to be drafted in 7 rounds of picks. He wouldn't even have he wasn't even the 300th best prospect. So Joe Brady came in, completely changed the guy's life. And Joe Burrow also changed his life by playing great football. But Justin Herbert has better physical tools, okay? When you look at Justin Herbert, faster, just as big of an arm, makes, can make bigger level throws, but Burrow was a better decision maker. Burrow was more accurate. Burrow was a better college player, especially last year. Burrow was a better college player. That's actually a debate because Herbert has played a long time in college. But Joe Burrow's season last year was that special. So Joe Burrow, but the point is about Cincinnati is that the media just craps on Cincinnati all day long. That's all they do is they absolutely unload on Cincinnati, make it seem like it's the worst place to play football in the NFL. When really Cincinnati's had more success than Miami, okay? Miami hasn't had any success. Marvin Lewis has been a better coach than anybody that the Dolphins have had. You can argue Sperano, but come on. Sperano, they haven't even won a playoff game either in Miami in 20 years. Cincinnati has had more success, better defense, better talent. Chad Ochocinco, Vontaze Burfict. You look at the guys like Kilpatrick, Dre Kirkpatrick, whatever, good cornerback. Geno Atkins, really good player. Okay, the Bengals have been a much better organization than Miami, but because the media maybe likes going to Miami, maybe Stephen Ross peppers up the media. Who the heck knows? It's for some reason, Miami is known as a destination spot with an offensive coordinator that just got fired. And we're treating Cincinnati, and we're putting Cincinnati in this. I know since he hasn't won a playoff game, but Marvin Lewis, they have been a consistent organization, okay? They haven't been great. They've been average, okay? So for some reason, Cincinnati is just the bully. They're trying to spin it like who would want to play there. Joe Burrow doesn't want to come there, even though Joe Burrow has never said that he doesn't want to come there. So Cincinnati just taking one on the chin for no reason. It's the media just trashing the Cincinnati Bengals and trashing Cincinnati. And I frankly don't get it. Speaking of Cincinnati. Speaking of Cincy. Speaking of Detroit. Let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa. So Tua Tagovailoa, T-O-N-G, it really like tongue, but it's it's spelled Tagovailoa, but it's Tagovailoa. Tua, Cincinnati Bengal quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. That sounds pretty good, but also Detroit. Mel Kiper, one of the best to ever be of the mock draft elk, has coordinated a mock draft, and Tua Tagovailoa is going to Detroit in that mock draft. Now, you can make fun of Mel Kiper, say that he just guesses all the time. Mel Kiper, there's a reason Mel is on television, and there's a reason Mel is Mel. There's a reason he's one of the best to ever be a draft prognosticator. He had Daniel Jones going high last year to the Giants, ended up being correct on that. You can make fun of him for Jimmy Clausen, but anybody in doing that job is going to have their hits, and they're going to have their misses. So Mel has Detroit taking Tagovailoa. Now, what's very interesting is that Darius Slay, who is a very versatile, good cornerback for the Detroit Lions, is on the trade block. And I think Slay, if I were to look, I think Slay is like 30 years old, 29. He's a good corner. I don't know if he's a guy that can play on the outside consistently, because here's an example, guys, and I know that your Detroit Lions fans are already, boiling up, ready to, say, come on, Darius Slay's a Pro Bowl or Darius Slay is awesome. Yes, Slay is an awesome slot. He's a very good corner. He's versatile. He's a good player. But Slay, when you lose your step at that position, okay, you could turn into Xavier Rhodes open. And Xavier Rhodes is a Pro Bowler. It really was one of the best cornerbacks from 2016 to 2018. He had a 2-year run, best cornerback in the NFL, lockdown, physical, and he never was blessed with speed, but had enough to really be effective. But it just showed you Xavier Rhodes this year, he's lost a step or two, and he gets burned a lot. So Darius Slay, eventually, that's what happens to cornerbacks. Unless you're Richard Sherman, unless you're one of the best of all time, like a Revis or Sherman, and you're 6'3" or whatever, and you play, sometimes you play in a cover 3. Just the Lions here know that Slay is probably worth a second-round value. And I don't think that you'd get a first back for Slay, but I think you'd get a second. And what the Lions could be doing, which could be really smart, is if they're looking to shop Darius Slay, it can turn the Dolphins off from wanting to trade up with the Lions, because maybe the Dolphins feel that by the Lions dealing Slay, it automatically puts Okudah in their sights. Maybe that means that the Dolphins would then be, okay, Dave Gettleman, very conservative with his draft capital. He is not going to trade that pick. He doesn't like trading back. We have Chase Young. He's going to either Washington. He's probably going to go to Washington. He's too good of a player. He's one of the best pass rushing prospects of the past 10 years, 15 years. Look at Nick Bosa. Look at how good that Ohio State D-line translates to NFL defensive linemanship. So Chase Young, Redskins, Detroit will stick with Okudah, and we don't have to give up anything, and we get Tua, our top-rated guy. We get Tua, our guy, at 5. So if Detroit then were to trade Darius Slay, and then a lot of people are going to think that they're then going to draft his replacement, Okudah, then they surprise everybody. They go Tagovailoa. And the Detroit Lions, okay, Detroit had Jim Caldwell. I know that you can make parallels between Detroit and Cincy. I know I defended Cincy earlier on the podcast. It's just that everybody's obsessed with now Joe Burrow somehow, like it's ruining his career if he goes to Cincy. In the words of Kobe Bryant, okay, the great ones will always figure it out. Okay, that's Kobe Bryant. So if you're thrown into the fire, you will figure it out. Even if your O-line's terrible, the great ones are always able to figure it out, or they're able to adjust on the fly with what they have, and they're able to adjust, and they're able to still have successful careers. So Kobe Bryant, if he was a GM or a coach, he would start the quarterback immediately. Here's the point about the Lions, is that the Lions, Ford Field is pretty much empty a lot. And it's not the Lions fans' fault. It's because every October the team is damn near eliminated. Now, I know that you have Matt Nagy. I know that you had Lovie Smith in those defenses. You have Green Bay, and then Minnesota has been absolutely fine under Mike Zimmer. They've been a pretty good team under Mike Zimmer lately, okay? So I know that division, there are no throwaways in the NFC North. But the point is, in Detroit, is that you're paying Stafford about $28-29 million, and he's never won a playoff game, and he's never come close to winning a playoff game. He is a guy that has a big arm. He puts up, kind of garbage time statistics, and he's not an incredible outward leader of Detroit, okay? He's a good leader. He's tough, okay? He is tough. But the point is about Stafford is that he's not elevating that franchise. He's an all right player. He's an okay to decently good player, but he's not winning. And you need a superstar. You need someone that's going to transform the organization. Matt Stafford is like an Alex Smith in terms of his impact, not in terms of his play style, but in terms of his impact. Tua Tagovailoa can be like the Mahomes. Tua Tagovailoa can be a superstar, a Russell, a Drew Brees-like player. And in Detroit, you need a superstar starting out in its prime. You look at Detroit sports, you need superstars. You have Miguel Cabrera on the Detroit Tigers. That is maybe one of the great stars. The hockey team, the Red Wings have always had unbelievable players. But Tua Tagovailoa, for that city, you need to jumpstart the Lions, okay? And if you're Matt Patricia, you draft Okudah. I mean, why wouldn't the Ford family let go of Matt Patricia? I mean, Matt Patricia is supposed to be a defensive whiz. Okay, he's supposed to be an unbelievable defensive coach. And then after week 4, that defense shut down. I mean, that defense got lit up by Derek Carr. That defense then was able to get lit up by Mitchell Trubisky. That defense then was a turnstile, and Detroit was absolutely horrendous. I know that Stafford got hurt. They probably told Stafford to rest so that they could tank. Detroit is just a joke. And Cincinnati has not been very good. Cincy is not this all-world franchise, but I think Detroit's been even worse. But in the media, no one talks about Detroit. No one talks about Miami. They only talk about Joe Burrow, and they only talk about the disappointment of the Cincinnati Bengals. Tua Tagovailoa, there's no reason why he shouldn't be a Detroit Lion. Even if Chase Young's on the board, you got to take a franchise quarterback. You got to get an elite-level starter. You trade Stafford. You can get a first-rounder for Stafford. He is a talented quarterback, okay? And he's a guy who started a lot of years. So you could trade Stafford out, and you could get a first-round pick, and then you can even get a wide receiver. You could trade Stafford and Slay. That would be the way that the Detroit Lions should operate. That's the way that they should proceed. You want there to be buzz in this town, okay? You want there to be excitement over the Detroit Lions. The Lions they've been conservative. They've sit back, and it hasn't worked. And this isn't working with Matt Patricia, okay? This defense isn't working. So you need a Tagovailoa. I would have actually looked on from Matt Patricia. I would have hired Joe Brady, and I would have went full-on offense. I would have hired Kellen Moore, and maybe had Kellen Moore work with a Tagovailoa, because you need to, again, the Lions are a team that needs to be on the front edge of taking risks. You look at the Steelers, they don't really need to. They have Mike Tomlin. Even though they've been losing in the AFC Championship, they've been a massive success. Some franchises are good to play cool. The Giants, have done their risks with Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. Now it's time for the Giants to lay back, play cool. Atlanta has Dan Quinn, and Atlanta has had playoff success under Dan Quinn, so they kept him. So they played it cool. And I could see why they've done it, because you're rewarding the successes that Dan Quinn has had. Mike Zimmer the same way, playing it cool. Vic Fangio, Drew Lock. So the Buffalo Bills have made good moves, and they haven't gone over the top and having to make the big level splash. But some franchises, you should err on the side of making big splashes, like the Oakland Raiders, maybe getting a new quarterback, trying to win. And it's tough. Derek Carr has been fine, so it's certainly a discussion. And if I were Oakland, I wouldn't say anything to Carr. I would try to land Justin Herbert. If not Herbert, you see where Eason will drop. If not, you get some really good receivers. And the next draft isn't that good, so I'd probably still look to get Eason in the draft. Anyway, because they have so many picks. So now let's talk about the Houston Astros here as we'll end the show on this topic. We'll end the show talking about Houston and talking about everything there. All right. So a lot of people in the media, right, a lot of people in the media say that they want this Astros story to, quote unquote, go away. That's what they say. They're like, we want this story to go away. And I don't get why. This should be talked about till the end of time. This should be talked about every single day because the Astros baseball, this is a story that will get me excited about talking about baseball. But this is more of an advantage than even steroiding is because you know exactly what the other team is throwing every single pitch. You know if it's a curveball, you know if it's a fastball. You know exactly. There's a reason why, catchers and pitchers have signs. There's a reason that it's a secret what you're throwing. There's a reason why off-speed pitches get people to chase. There's a reason why there are different pitches in baseball, why there are fastballs and curveballs, because you're trying to get hitters out, you're trying to strike them out, and you're also trying to confuse them. This isn't T-ball. And essentially, the Astros played T-ball. They were able to lay off of breaking balls on 3-1, whether it's 1-2 pitches, 2-2 pitches, they're able to lay off of breaking balls. Okay, even 3-1 pitches can be breaking balls. So the point is the story shouldn't go away. And in MLB baseball, we suspend players for injecting some kind of illegal protein peptide needles that sometimes are so difficult to discard or difficult to decipher. Sometimes you put something in your body you don't even know about. You're taking some kind of protein shake. It ends up having some kind of, steroid attached to it or some kind of little advantage. Sometimes you could get suspended 60 games for that, little peptide that you're taking into your body. The Astros literally know what the other team is throwing, and yet the players have not gotten suspended at all. There's no suspension for this at all, for this type of cheating behavior. The commissioner basically said that it's not cheating because they're not getting punished at all. So the commissioner is encouraging cheating. Another organization can go out there and pretty much do the same thing. And all they will get is all they will have to do is tell the truth, and maybe their manager gets fired. Big deal. You know how much managers get paid in Major League Baseball? $2 million. If you're a former player, you could qualify to be a manager. You don't even have to be a good former player. If you're an average former player that's played a long time, you're Raul Ibanez, you're going to be a manager. That's $1 million job. That is basically babysitting, okay? That's a babysitting job. That's what managers are in baseball. It's the least important job for coaching, and it's paid the least. So essentially, if a team wants to, again, steal signs and inject cameras into the outfield, they are just going to, again, have to tell the truth, and their manager will get fired. That's essentially the punishment. Manager gets fired. Oh, you're going to remove a banner from center field? You're going to remove a piece of cloth? Oh, my gosh. The heartache. Your rings don't even get taken. But that feeling of winning a championship, maybe for the Astros that have dignity, it wasn't that great, but that feeling should be pretty damn good. Why wouldn't a team do this again? Taking one anabolic steroid is worse than what the Astros did. It's unbelievable. You throw out a batter. You get suspended more games. It's only because the commissioner wants to keep Alex Bregman and wants to keep the Houston market rolling. That's all. It's just all greed. It's all money for Rob Manfred. That's all it is for Rob Manfred. He wants to keep the Houston Astros, and he wants to keep their players wants to keep their players, intact to sell jerseys maybe, keep them intact to go on the road. But they should be suspended for 2 years because they cheated for 2 seasons. They should be suspended and they should be unable to participate in Major League Baseball for 2 years. Each hitter on that team that played. The pitchers should maybe get suspended half a season because pitchers, they don't really have to deal with the competitive advantage, but they should maybe get suspended half a season for the other teams that they're on. And even if someone acquired an Astros player, if someone acquired them via free agency or something, they should still have to deal with the consequences because they cheated. They cheated. They should be suspended 2 years, forced to sit out 2 years of their prime. The championship banner could be taken away. There should be umpires on deck. You can freeze the lineup for the Houston Astros. On the road, you could even, I say this jokingly, but you should even be forced maybe as a pitcher to have to give up your sign in terms of what you're throwing. But I would suspend each hitter 2 years for this. It's a joke. The Astros have got, they've had no punishment for absolutely the worst form of cheating. I mean, steroids is awful. It's bad. But these guys literally stealing, robbing thieves. And they've stolen science and what people are throwing. Yes, everybody does this. Come on. This is a sin and it's cheating. And there is no punishment for these players. And the immunity thing of, you have to tell the truth, that's not bad at all. Okay, not bad at all. They don't get suspended. They're still playing baseball. They're still going to have a great chance to win. The Astros you fire A.J. Hinch, oh my God. Well, the hardship of having to find a new manager. Oh, you just get Dusty Baker, who's a very accomplished manager. So, oh my gosh, the hardship. Ridiculous. Absolutely despicable that you should be able to do that. And another team should, why don't they just go out and do this? They go out and do this. They're not going to get suspended either for stealing pitches. They don't get suspended a game. Steroids, you suspend somebody 20 games, 60 games for just, and it could be just a peptide, that you're a protein shake. You take one protein shake, you're getting suspended 20 games. Astros cheat for 3 years, steal opponents' pitches, take their team, win a championship. Maybe they weren't even that good to begin with. You'll watch the Astros. Maybe they'll struggle now that they have to play real baseball. But come on, I bet you could take the worst team in baseball, the Athletics or whoever the worst team is, you give them this advantage of knowing every single pitch. They're going to be pretty damn good. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be on the doorstep or maybe winning a World Series championship. It's a mockery and a joke, and it should be talked about because this cheating, when you cheat like this for 2 years, and you do this for 234 days of cheating constantly, you should be mocked about it. You should be reminded that you did this during your life. You should be reminded of the story. It should be attached to you, and it is going to be attached to you. I'd suspend them for 2 years. I wouldn't ban them from baseball. You can learn from your mistakes. I believe in second chances, but I also believe that there should be punishment for an action that really affects people's lives, which is, other pitchers that had to go in there, other teams that ended up losing to the cheaters. I do believe in punishment. And 2 years, again, you sit out 2 years, you come back, okay, after 2 years, because those 2 years were cheating seasons, and cheating seasons shouldn't be acceptable. So, you do something wrong, you have a timeout, right? When you're a kid, you sit in timeout. So you cheated. We found out about it. You should be forced to suffer some consequences. And again, I'm not banning you from baseball, but 2 years you can't play. Go to a minor league, go play in another form of baseball. But you cheated, and you have to sit out 2 years and think about what you did. And if you're an older player and you're going to retire anyway in 2 years, that's kind of unfortunate then. but I think the 2-year punishment would be really good. Taking away draft picks, something. I mean, this punishment, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. It is. And to see players coming out against it is great. I don't want the story to die down. There's so many people are like, the story should die down. The story should die down. I'm tired of it. I'm not tired of it at all. I need to hear more. I need to hear more of what they've did. And they should be talked about relentlessly. For their cheating. They took upon the game. They made a mockery of Major League Baseball and of the sport. And that's just the facts that have been pointed out, that they literally know exactly what pitches are being thrown with the trash can, and now there could be monitors attached, and, the guy was going to take his shirt off after, a walk-off, and now he says, it's tattoo. Jose Altuve, tattoo is so embarrassing. When I'm sure in the clubhouse, guys are sitting shirtless in the clubhouse playing pool, drinking beer. So that's just suspicious in itself as well. It just is. Alrighty, guys. Was fun. Did enjoy it. I did enjoy the podcast today. Caught an MLB cheating. Tua Tagovailoa, draft talk, Drew Brees, Taysom Hill, Teddy Bridgewater. Alrighty, guys. It was fun. Take care. Thank you for listening to the podcast today. All right, take care.